Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics. In this video, I'd like to take a look at the inevitable consequences of the Conservatives pushing hard right candidates for the general election by taking a look at the experiences of the Brexit Party and formerly UKIP. But first, if you'd like to get notifications for my daily uploads, then please click the subscribe button and the bell notification icon next to it. So we'll begin with the Brexit Party and their little bit of xenophobia emerging again. Imagine that. They are threatening to field up to 600 candidates in this December's general election, although I have my doubts, and have been announcing them recently. Now, one such candidate by the name of Jill Hughes has had to withdraw her candidacy from a constituency in Yorkshire just because she comes from Sirius. Yes, that's right, the brightest star system in the constellation of Canis Major. Curiously, she didn't claim to come from a planet orbiting the system, but from the star itself. She didn't actually say whether it was Sirius A or Sirius B. Now, I think it's outrageous that a political party pulls a previously approved candidate just because she comes from somewhere else. And Richard Tice, who is the leader of the Brexit Party, said that their vetting process is very robust. So I'm sure they'd have known about her origins beforehand. Perhaps they're doing it just because they know that their intended supporters are racist and wouldn't accept someone from another star system. And the fact that the news has just emerged means, well, maybe they think she won't do as well in the election. Or maybe it's got nothing to do with where she's from. Maybe it's religious intolerance that has forced her withdrawal. Perhaps it isn't even, as I say, that she's from Sirius, but that she believes that her horse was reincarnated from a previous horse. Either way, it's a disgraceful example of intolerance from the Brexit Party and an indication of the sort of people that not only make up the bulk of the party, but also the voters that they will be hoping to target. But in all seriousness for a moment, this is the sort of Fruit Loop that you inevitably attract with such a party. When the basic policy of your political movement is madness, you will attract lunatics. UKIP were constantly falling foul of this truism. Jill Hughes has written a number of interesting things in her time. One of them stands out on the subject of fellow aliens. The ETs, she said, some of them less than apple pie wholesome or positive pumpkins, never heard that expression before, are already here working with our world governments. But that's all hush hush for now. Well, not now that you've told everyone, Jill, it isn't. But these sorts of embarrassments are nothing new to people running populist political groups. The number of times that UKIP had to dismiss members because they were foolish enough to be recorded expressing the most abhorrent views or telling extremely offensive racist or sexist jokes. I mean, the views were widely known within the party, of course. They never came as a surprise to anyone. But it's a sign of the far right that they have to keep their real thoughts and nature a secret through lies and deception. The reason is because they are so massively out of touch with everyone else. So when UKIP members, including elected councillors, had to be removed from the party for deeply racist or otherwise offensive remarks, the views were never a surprise to the UKIP leadership. A party such as this simply can't operate with people who have any human feeling. The only surprise was that they were stupid enough to be recorded revealing their true selves. They're supposed to keep that private. So now we come to a similar situation in the increasingly extreme Conservative Party. Now, the Conservative Party, of course, has always had these people on the extreme right wing, but they were relatively few in number, or at least not as well represented, certainly in Parliament. Now, Francesca O'Brien, the Conservative candidate who was running for Gower in Wales, has had to apologise for posts on Facebook a few years ago. And these remarks went beyond simple racism or other forms of random discrimination. She basically advocated the killing of poor people. Not seemingly in jest either. There was no usual defence of, taken completely out of context. No, the remarks were made and she apologised for the language used. So it was her choice of wording that she felt was at fault. Not the sentiment. No, that was fine. That was totally understandable, totally acceptable. No, there's no need to apologise for calling, for poor people to be killed, or even just expressing hatred for poor people, which is what she was also doing. No. She just used the wrong language. The wrong words were used. People misunderstood. And in this case, the Conservatives aren't even dropping her for the general election. As far as we can tell at the moment, she is still going to be their candidate. I mean, I suppose that's good news for the other parties. And this just won't be a one-off either. It never was with UKIP. It kept happening. It's not going to be with the Brexit Party either. It's not going to be with the Conservative Party. It's not like this sort of thing has never happened before for the Tories either, but with a deliberate policy of trying to, purge moderates from the party and install hard right candidates as part of Boris Johnson's plan to out-Brexit Party the Brexit Party. This sort of thing is going to happen much more frequently. It is a natural consequence. The very far right contains some of the most despicable people you can imagine. Extremists in a very real sense of the term. And the fact that Hughes is still supported by the party, when normally such remarks would have had them drop like a hot potato, is interesting. As I say, Boris Johnson has deliberately sought to have as many candidates as possible on the extreme right wing. It's even possible that the party leadership aren't even embarrassed about these comments. They know they are chasing hardline votes. That's why they want to install hardline candidates. So why not embrace these candidates who express hardline views? Don't apologise for them. Just say, yeah. Especially when they don't even apologise for the sentiments themselves, the actual candidates. Because if they did, then all of a sudden you're in a bit of a bind there. After all, violent inflammatory language hasn't done Donald Trump any harm across the pond, and everything about Johnson is copying the Trump textbook. In actual fact, what I really think is they're both taking leaves out of Steve Bannon's book, but that's another topic. And I could say this is just another reason why people need to turn out and stop these extremists coming to power. I can barely imagine how toxic Parliament is going to become if Boris Johnson actually wins. But there are problems, even if they are stopped from forming a government. So as a colleague of mine at work today said, think about the local constituents. So the Conservatives may not win this seat, and they may even be defeated in the normal sense of a general election. Let's hope so anyway. But they are still going to be getting some MPs. Quite a lot of them, you would think. Many constituencies are going to elect Conservative MPs. That's just all there is to it. And a higher than normal proportion of them are going to be sociopaths like Jill Hughes. Francesca O'Brien, get it right. So if you're unfortunate, I can't even tell my loonies apart at the moment. If you're unfortunate enough to live in one of these constituencies, the point is, and you need your MP's help, I mean, despite whether the MP is the person you voted for or not, they are supposed to represent all constituents. They're supposed to help you. But what chance have you got with these monsters emerging? They simply don't care about anyone that isn't them or their like. They'll do as little as possible to actually represent their areas and the people in them, using their power only to further their own benefit and vicious agenda against the people they're supposed to be standing up for. And if the Conservatives and Brexit Party combine to form a majority in the Commons this December, we are headed into a very unpleasant direction, as I said. Not just in terms of Brexit. It does remind me of the Brexit referendum result leading to a surge in racially aggravated attacks. Now, this is because the racist thugs, some of them had been kept under control so far by conformity. Society wasn't finding their behaviour acceptable. But then they all of a sudden believe, oh, we won, we got a majority, so the majority agree with me. Because they don't think that the people who voted the same way as they did voted for different reasons. As far as they were concerned, it was for racist reasons. And we may see a similar situation with a hard right win. The sort of comments and actions that would have had you expelled from the party before may become normalised in our politics and in wider society. These people with extreme views, seeing that MPs with extreme views have been voted into a majority position, may also decide that a majority of the country agrees with it. It's not really how it works with first past the post, but they will take it as that. And we could be entering an age where these comments are actively encouraged and then become acceptable. One thing is fairly certain, I would suggest, though, these sorts of comments being made public will only increase in number if you increase the number of candidates who hold such views. Only so many of them have the tact to keep those views to themselves. A certain proportion may always be relied upon to be caught saying something at some point, whether through stupidity or just because, like I say, they are so out of touch with society, they don't even realise that what they're saying is unacceptable. But anyway, I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please give the like button a hit. And if you'd like to support the channel further, then please click the Patreon link for further details. And until next time, I'll see you later.